In today's episode, we are going to talk about how to flip homes in the Silicon Valley, California. We're going to be going over how to find good deals, how to underwrite the deals, how to fund the deals, and then how to manage the construction project from start to finish. To help us with that, we have Elisa Covington. She is a home flipper, and she specializes in the Silicon Valley. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, likewise as well too. So I am excited about this because if you check out Alyssa's podcast, you will notice that she flips homes in pretty high price points. Obviously, the markets where she's flipping, the price points are pretty high. So we wanted to just kind of give some tips to you guys if you guys wanted to get into flipping homes. So if somebody wanted to get into flipping homes in the Silicon Valley, what would you say the first step would be?
Educate yourself. So you don't want to jump in a new venture without knowing what you're getting into. So definitely you want to educate yourself as much as possible. Hopefully you can surround yourself with like-minded people by going into a lot of real estate events and read about it, listen to podcasts like this one, and watch a lot of YouTube videos. I have a YouTube channel called Transform Real Estate where I share a lot of house flipping tips and tricks and before and after videos. And I have over 80,000 subscribers.
How did you get involved in your first flip?
So at first, I didn't know what I want to do in regards to real estate yet. I was still working full time, but I purchased a first home in San Francisco, and I had to do some remodeling on the home because it was a short sale and it was in pretty poor condition. In the kitchen, the sink cutout was bigger than the sink. So there's a gap all around and water could just get into the gap into the cabinet. So I couldn't live with that. So I had to do some remodeling, but I was also dead broke after purchasing my first home as a single woman. So I had like very limited budget to do some of the much needed repairs. But that experience really taught me a lot because I didn't have any home remodeling experience, didn't come from any interior design background. So I had no clue how to remodel a house, what color to paint the interior. Mm-hmm. And but from that experience, I realized that I enjoy doing it. After transforming my own home, I purchased a rental property, also in San Francisco, a small condo. And my then boyfriend, now husband, helped me remodel the place all by ourselves and completely transformed it. So based on the experiences from these two properties, I really realized that I enjoy doing that. I enjoy putting new life into a very rundown home and create a product for the end buyers. So that's how I started to think about pursuing house flipping as a career.
Got it. Okay. So basically started with your own personal properties and then kind of transition. Now, at what point, like obviously that experience helped you tremendously. How long after that did you find your first property? And then how did you go about finding the first property? Was it like an MLS deal? Was it like direct to owner? Was it through a wholesaler? How did you find the first one?
So it was like about a year after since I started thinking about it, I really got my first deal. So I got the deal from a real estate agent. So that's my primary strategy of deal acquisition. So I network with a lot of agents and I tell them what I do. And also I ask them to think of me whenever they come across fixer uppers.
Got it. I love it. And then what year was this, just out of curiosity?
It was 2017.
Okay, awesome. And then what did that first property look like? Like, meaning like what was the purchase price? What was the rehab? What was the time frame that it took? What are maybe some of the challenges that you experienced and some of the lessons? And then what did you end up selling it for and approximately how much you made on that? If you remember it,
You're going to love this because it was a nightmare.
Hmm.
I purchased the house for 1 million, and we put in, or originally I thought we were going to put in about 100,000, but the budget ran over to I think 120. And I also had contractor issues because I was new in the business. I didn't know any contractors yet. So I basically went out and hired the first contractor that was available for the job. And the contractor also kind of took advantage of the situation because he knew I was new and he knew that I didn't know anything. So during the project, basically, as soon as we started the project, he was calling me like, the addition in the back, the house is very big. It's over 2,000 square feet. It's a Victorian style home and over 100 years old. He said, there is an addition which I was aware of. And he claimed that the addition was not permitted. He said it was not done legally and he didn't feel safe to continue the work. And I was working a full-time job at the time. Imagine getting that call during the workday. It was very stressful and scary. So he said, okay, we're going to stop work on this addition section, but we're going to move to the upstairs to continue with the demolition. And then a couple hours later, he called me again, telling me that the bathroom upstairs was also not done legally. But the issue is when I purchased the house, I actually verified the permits of the addition and the upstairs. So I actually had a letter from the city saying that both of those areas were permitted. So I showed that letter to him and he was still saying that the structure was not done right. And he wanted for me to hire a architect and structural engineer to look at the structure of the house. So because I didn't have any experience, I had to agree to that. And then it turned out it was a friend of his, and they took a few months to investigate the structure and charged me a few $1,000s. But then they came back saying the structure was completely fine, which I
Wow.
knew already. Yeah. So it was a very painful and kind of bad experience
Hmm.
dealing with contractors. It was hard.
Oh yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people have challenges when they first get involved. Is the construct? I mean, you can get a good deal on a property, but managing the construction is a whole new, completely different animal. Did you end up making any money on your first property, or did you end up breaking even, or what did that look like?
I ended up making about 80,000. So that
Okay,
was really
so not
good.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought I would make a six-figure profit, but it was 80,000 because of the timeline was longer than expected and the cost was also higher.
Okay, and then how long did it take for you to do it?
It took about, I think 5 months.
Got it. Now, I think what you said is that the comps were higher when you got done. So, like at times, what ends up happening when you're flipping properties, if the market's going up, the marketplace actually helps makes it so that like you don't lose money because the market, in some cases, right?
But the market could also go the other way. So
Yeah,
you never know.
100%. And the reason I say that is because sometimes it's almost like a factor of luck at times. If the market goes up, it kind of helps. If the market goes down, then it hurts you tremendously. And what that projected profit of $80,000 could go down to zero, or it could even be negative. What I was going to ask you is, how did you fund that first deal? Because I think that when people maybe in other areas hear $1 million, they may be like, "Oh my God, like, how do I come up with $1 million?" You know?
So a lot of beginners may not realize, but there are really so many ways, a lot of resources you can use to fund a flip. Obviously, there's hard money loans that you can take advantage of, and you can also borrow from a HELOC or from a private money lender, or just bring in a partner that brings equity into the house. So there are a lot of different ways. For this particular case, I used hard money and my own funds to fund the flip.
And then which one's your favorite out of the different funding? mechanism. So obviously you talked about hard money, you talked about like private money as well. You talked a little bit about maybe bringing on an equity investor as well too. Which one's your favorite out of all of them, and why?
I like hard money a lot because
Yeah.
hard money lenders they have their own set of processes. So as long as you meet their criteria, as long as you provide all the documents they need, they can fund really quickly. And without having to ask a lot of questions, you don't have to report to them during the project. So it's very easy and painless.
Versus having an equity partner that maybe wants to be involved and you have to
Right,
get three estimates for a plumbing bid versus the guy that you already know does a good
right.
job, etc. It's funny because when I
Yeah,
got involved in
exactly.
flipping as well too, that was one of the things that I make decisions pretty fast, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want somebody like slowing me down, asking me questions that I already knew the answers to. So I chose hard money as well too, just more or less to be in control of everything basically and be able to move at the speed that I wanted. What are some tips for finding a good hard money lender, and then what should people be looking for as it relates? Like meaning like okay, on $1 million property, you can get 100% financing, 90%, 70%. How many points? Rates as of today, what would you say?
So you just have to ask them a lot of questions. It's not just about terms and the rates. It's also about how quickly they can close and what kind of criteria they have for investors. Like, do they require you to have a credit score of a certain number? And do they want to see experience? And also, how long the terms they offer? Like, there are many things that you should ask the hard money lenders so that you can decide which one would be the best to work with.
Got it. It's funny because when I first started flipping, I think I was paying like 2.5 points and 6 month loans and pretty high interest rate at that time. Now I think we put down 10%. We pay like a point, I think. Um, and they're even willing to fund some of the rehab and they can close pretty quickly. You said
Yeah,
that
because of your experience.
because of the
Yeah,
experience. Yeah.
the more experience you have, the safer their loans are. So they will be willing to work with you on the rates.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of times when people get into flipping, they want to go direct to seller. And that's actually a lot harder than getting a wholesaler to find you a deal or even a real estate agent. You said that your main marketing channel is building relationships with real estate agents. What value
Mhm.
do you bring to real estate agents, or how would somebody go about building relationships with realtors? And should somebody just have one realtor or should they have multiple different relationships?
They probably need more than one agent because when you work with only one agent, they usually don't have enough deals
You're limited.
to, yeah. So I work with a lot of agents. I work with, I probably, in my network, there are hundreds of agents.
And what's your value proposition to the agents, or why would the agents want to work with you versus somebody else?
So I'm very easy to work with, and I have integrity. Also, when I purchase homes, I offer a lot of conveniences to the sellers, and then we use hard money loans that can close very quickly. So that's a very good benefit to a lot of the sellers because they can get their money back so quickly. And also on the selling side, after I do the renovations, I use the same agents to sell the houses. So they get at least double commission.
Got it. Okay. So you basically take care of your agents. It's funny because sometimes I meet people that flip homes that aren't open to new relationships, meaning like they're like, no, I already have my one person that I work with. And also that believe that don't believe in real estate agents, but you seem to take the opposite approach that, hey, look, like let's take care of our agents and
Mm-hmm.
let's basically work with them as much as we can. How does somebody get in contact? How does somebody build a network of hundreds of agents? Like, is it to attend realtor event? Is it to attend their open houses? What's the best way to build different relationships with different agents?
There are so many different ways. You can email them, you can send them text messages, you can call them, you can meet with them in person. So there are a lot of different ways to do it. But it's not as simple as just getting in touch with an agent. It's also what agents you actually approach and how you approach them, what you say to them, that make a lot of difference.
What agents would you approach? Like if let's say you were starting all over, and let's say that you were starting in a new market. Let's say that instead of Silicon Valley, you were in Ventura County, which is my market. Which agents would you target and why? And how would you approach them?
It's not as simple that I can just say it in a couple of sentences. We actually cover this extensively in my program where I teach beginners to flip houses because it's really, there are so many agents out there. You
Of
probably
course.
know this.
Yeah.
They're like everyone's brother or sister or like a friend is an agent, but not all agents are created equal, right? A lot of agents have never done a sale ever, and a lot of agents don't really know how to sell or how to purchase homes for their buyers or sellers. So agents are so different, and it's really important to know how to differentiate the agents and how to find the best agents that have the most potential to bring you deals later on. So you need to target those agents.
Is there any tips that you can give us as it relates to that without having to pay?
So I think the main thing is to really identify the agents who do good amount of business, but also not like so much business. Because if they sell too many houses, then they probably don't have time for investors.
Got it. Okay, so and what would you say that sweet spot is? Like, what's a lot of homes from a real estate agent? Like, and what's a little bit of homes, and what's kind of like a range of deals that, like, hey, look, like if they do from X to Y, that's a really good range where they're not too busy, more than
I
likely.
would say like it really depends on the market too. Like in some markets, like if a
The
lot of
price
agents
point is
sell
higher.
a lot of homes, right? If the price point is higher, then they may not have to sell a lot of homes a year. But if they sell like 40 homes a year, that's probably a lot. So that
Got it.
means they're selling homes constantly and they're very busy with sellers.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. All right. So we've talked about finding deals. Obviously, that's the main marketing strategy. Do you use anything like direct to owner? Direct? Have you gone into any direct to seller marketing or any wholesalers, or do you have any
No,
thoughts on
I
that?
haven't. I've purchased homes from wholesalers actually, but
Okay.
I haven't really have to gone to sellers directly because I've had a really good deal flow so far.
And then, like for those people that say, "Oh, you can't find any good deals right now," like what do you say to them?
Yeah, it's really interesting that I hear that all the time. Since I started in this business, people were, or before I even got started, people were saying there are not enough deals, but it's not the case. I know from my experience that last year and this year, like a lot of people are saying inventory is so low, but last year was actually my best year. I did a lot more deals last year compared to previous years. And this year, also, I've already sold 7 homes and I've already purchased 9. So it tells you that it's really not about what everyone's saying. It's about the network you build and the relationships that you have.
Got it. So let me ask you this: like, what's your buy box in the Silicon Valley? Like, meaning like, I know my buy box down here is like more entry level. I like it just because I look at it like, could I rent out this property? Worst case scenario, if the marketplace were to change, and in some price points, like the carrying costs are so high that like if
Mhm.
for whatever reason the marketplace shifts or something doesn't go right, if you got $20,000 a month of carrying costs, it could lead to substantial like pain. So what would you say your buy box is, and why have you decided on that buy box?
I don't really have a specific buy box. To me, the most important thing is the numbers. As long as the numbers work, I actually am very open to pretty much all deals. I understand what you said about different price points. I think when I was starting out, I focused more on entry level homes. But as I have more and more experience, I actually moved up the ladder, especially since the last couple of years, I'm doing more higher end homes, like prices that are over $3-4 million. So entry level homes are great because there's a huge pool of buyers for those homes. But as you move up the ladder to the higher price point homes, you actually see that the profit margins are bigger on those homes.
Now, is it just the dollar amount that's bigger, or is it the percentage as well too that's bigger? Because I saw like I think on your YouTube channel, I saw something about a $3.8 million flip, and then I saw that it said something about 300,000 in profit or something like that. Which the way
I
I was
think it
looking at
was
it,
more than that. It
okay,
was like $3.6 million
uh,
sale, but I made over 500,000.
500. Okay, so it's over 10% basically profit margins
Mhm.
basically. So let me.
So a lot of times on the higher price point homes, if you are being conservative on your ARV, when you purchase the home, you are using the conservative number. But when you sell the home, if the market does better or if you present a really appealing product, a lot of times you sell the home for higher than expected. That's when you can actually make big bucks.
Let me ask you this: were you flipping when the marketplace, when interest rates went up, and did that? How did your flips perform during that time?
They performed fine. So that was 2022. Is that what the year that you were referring to? So that year I did have two properties where I lost money on, but I only had very small losses.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was about 50,000 loss on
each
each.
one. Yeah.
But yeah, so it was not a big loss, but because I did really well on other properties, I actually um, from that year, I was able to make the same amount like compared to my previous years.
Basically,
So yeah, I think it's really important to know how to run the numbers, to know how to flip houses the right way so that you minimize the risks and really however the market changes, it's not going to affect your bottom line that much. It's only going to decide whether you're making like 100,000 or 300,000. So
agree.
that's what I'm trying to do.
And that's the same kind of thing I did because when I lost some of that money, I started making adjustments and I got more clear on what it is. Okay, like what it really makes me money and what doesn't make me money as well too, and what's too high of a risk for me as well too. So let me
Mm-hmm.
ask you this: whenever you're underwriting deals, what's your formula? Like ARV times 85%, ARV times
I
80.
actually, I know those numbers. I actually don't believe in any of those because on a home that's 500,000 purchase price versus a home that's 2-3 million of purchase price, the percentage cannot be the same. So I actually evaluate every deal case by case. I start from the ARV and then I deduct all the costs, rehab costs, financing costs, closing costs, etc., and then the desired profit to get to my max purchase price. So I don't use a percentage.
So let me ask you this: like on a $3.5 million flip, what would be the desired profit that you'd be looking to make versus on $1 million flip? What would be the desired profit that you'd be looking to make?
It's usually at least 10% of all the money invested.
Got
So
it.
all the money invested include the purchase price, include the rehab cost and all the costs.
So you're probably buying like at 82, 83% of ARV, probably, right? Like if you're making 10% and then you probably have like an
I think
additional
it's
like
way lower
six.
than that. 80, that sounds really high.
It is pretty high.
80%.
And it's funny because when I started flipping, I was buying like at 85%, and that's where my formula was off. Now we're buying like at 70%. But do you mind going over numbers on the $3.6 million flip, kind of like what that looked like? And is the calculator something that like if somebody saw value, like somebody that you have in your course that they can buy from you?
It's included in the program.
I love it.
3.6. I think it's probably close to 2.5.
Somewhere in that range, basically. And then do you know what you invest, or
I
do you remember what you invested into it approximately?
think I invested maybe 300,000,
Somewhere in there.
350, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holding cost was really low because at that time I was paying like less than 6% of interest.
Got it. If for hard money?
Yeah.
Wow.
And no points. Yeah.
How are you able to secure like 6%? Because even when interest rates were 2 to 3%, I think that, I mean, the lowest, I mean, I would see for hard money was like 8, 9%.
Yeah, that's that's the deal that my lender offered to me because of the volume I do. Yeah. So a few lenders really compete for my business and they just undercut each other's rates many times. And then we got to sub 6% and I wasn't even paying points.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because even in back in the day, I remember like being like 8, 9% back then. Now it's like 10, 11, in some cases even 12. Are you still able to get those sorts of rates right now? Or
Of course, it's not 6%, but it's still under 10.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So what advice would you give on finding good contractors? Like obviously like you've gone through a process now where you had a really bad experience. How has that system improved and kind of what are some tips there?
You just have to really interview the contractors. You
Yeah.
have to take them to walk through the houses so that you can compare the bids apples to apples because a lot of times contractors give you different bids. Like some contractors include the finished materials, some contractors don't. And some contractors give you an allowance on finished materials and some don't. So you need to make sure that they include all the items that you need done so that you are comparing the bids correctly.
And then how do you make sure quality wise that you're getting the same exact quality? Like meaning like a contractor could say, "Oh yeah, I'll do it for 100," and another person 130,
You
but the
can go check on their previous job sites.
yeah, but but how do you ensure like in your estimates that they're using like higher grade cabinets or higher grade countertops or
So I think the cabinets and the tiles, they usually give you an allowance. They don't
yeah,
really say, oh, whatever you pick is going to be included in the bid. So you have to take that into account, like cost to buy finished materials.
got it. Nowadays, you use the same contractor, or do you still shop it around to a couple of different people
I use the same contractor. It
every time?
saves me so much time. Yeah, he has a big crew, so he can handle multiple projects at once.
Got it. In terms of like the resale, obviously you use the same agent. Do you believe in home staging? Do you believe in
Mhm.
um and
Yeah, I always stage my flips
got it.
because if you want to show your houses in the best light possible.
Got it. Okay. And then on the resale for agents, do you pay like a full commission back to them or do you have like some sort of like uh discounted commission that you offer them or how does that work?
I
Or
pay them full commission. If you call it 5%
yeah.
full commission,
So it's
that's
like
the
an
commission I
incentive for
pay.
them basically.
Yeah, I want to reward them for their work.
Got it. Awesome. Cool. Anything else that you think we should know about flipping homes in the Silicon Valley?
So you already mentioned that I have a coaching program called Transform Flipper Academy. That's where I teach my students the ins and outs about house flipping. And some of my students actually recently completed their first flips. And I think one student made 60,000 on his first flip in Sacramento,
Good for him.
and another student made 100,000, and another student made 170,000 from her first flip. So we had some really good success stories from the program, and I've been really enjoying teaching.
I love that.
I also have a book on sale for on Amazon called "Flipping Houses Quick Start Guide." So it's a um, really affordable way for people to learn more about house flipping and my approach to house flipping.
I love it. And if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So I have my social media. Instagram is Transform Real Estate. YouTube is Transform Real Estate. And also on Facebook, we have a Facebook page, Transform Real Estate as well.
I love it. Okay. I want to say thank you, Alyssa, for taking the time to come on the show. I appreciate your time. To our viewers out
Yeah.
there, we had a episode today. It was how to flip properties in the Silicon Valley. If you um, are looking to do it in San Francisco, Palo Alto, Los Altos, San Jose, um, Elisa may be a good person. Also nationwide, check out our YouTube channel. So thank you. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you feel this episode will be helpful, make sure to hit that share button. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
And
Yeah.
until next time.